Welcome to Meaningful Mondays with the Community Foundation of Middlesex County, where we only know good people who do great things in our community. Whether you are a volunteer, a donor, or a nonprofit organization, each episode of Meaningful Mondays will celebrate you, our friends and neighbors who have a deep passion for and commitment to improving the quality of life for all in Middlesex County. So let's kick off the week with great conversations with remarkable people, businesses, and nonprofits making a difference right in our own backyard. Well, happy Monday, everybody. Every day in Middlesex County is a great day, but Mondays are particularly meaningful because we always have good people to talk to on Mondays. And I am particularly proud to introduce everybody to Gale and Patrick Dilger. Gale and Patrick, we are honored to work with you on the Alexandra Dilger Award. And we've learned so much from both of you and from the rest of the committee about the award. And honestly, I do mean it when we say we're honored to work with you. So to start us off, though, let's get the word out. Let's make sure everybody in Middlesex County and beyond knows all about what you have done. But let's start with your describing what Alexandra was like, your daughter. What was she really like? Well, you've shared some stories with us, but let's tell the rest of the world. So I'll start with you, Patrick, and then Gale, you just add in, and I'll be interrupting Patrick so you can get a word in edgewise. How's that?
Our daughter, thank you, Cynthia. Our daughter was a young woman of very eclectic interests. She loved the arts. She loved animals. We say all creatures, great and small. And her arts interests really pushed the boundaries. She loved independent movies. She loved all sorts of literature, from graphic novels through to Kafka, Dostoevsky, etc. She famously read James Joyce Ulysses during 5 days in Dublin.
I know you told us that, and we were like, really?
Yeah, and this hefty tome at the airport. She said, "Oh, I finished that, and I got out to see everything, and it was wonderful." And we have talked about it before. We consider she had a beautiful mind and a tender heart, and she was just a very loving, fun young person who did have her challenges, and we are very aware of that. But she made the most of her life, and we love her for that.
Well, and you were so kind to remember her and honor her with the award. And Gale, what else do you have to add? What are your fondest memories of Alexandra?
Well, a lot of it was, as Patrick said, our traveling, and we would pick a location based on an author that Alexandra loved, and then we had to go see everything about, like, we saw every place that was mentioned in Ulysses, when we were in Dublin, and we went to one museum where they were just reading excerpts from all of these authors. And it was just amazing. The man was in a tuxedo. And so we went to see all of that. And then I'll let Patrick intercept where, Kafka, she loved Kafka. So we went to the Kafka Museum, and Alexandra called Patrick over, and
she had a big grin on her face, and she said, "Oh, Dad, you really need to see this." And she went over to the exhibit, and it was a letter on why I hate my father. And she thought that was hilarious. And so we had a good laugh over that.
So she had a good sense of humor.
She did. She had a good sense of humor. And I remember one trip. I'm from New Zealand, and I took her with me and my father, who had been with us for quite a few years over here, but he also had lived in New Zealand. So we all went back, and Alexandra and I had a week in the capital city, Wellington, which is a very artsy place. And we just had the best time there. And we went to the home of a famous New Zealand short story writer called Catherine Mansfield. We went to the Weta workshop with Lord of the Rings by Peter you've got the name, Gale. Peter, ah, the creator of the Lord of the Rings. Sorry about that. We went there. We went to this wonderful natural preserve called Zealandia, and took in some movies, some wonderful restaurants. Just had a great time, and it was a bit of everything. Peter Jackson. Sorry, that's why I'm clearly entering that stage of life. So Peter Jackson's workshop, which was wonderful, and she was always just enthusiastic, and she would, ask questions, and she would read about everything, and it just it was a delight, really, and I will always remember that trip.
Well, sadly, sadly she passed away, and listening to you with the fond memories, tell us why you started this award and its importance to you. Because Alexandra, to me, every time I hear something about her, was ambitious, and she always wanted to do and be independent. Am I right on that?
Oh, yes, definitely. And she went to Landmark College and was working there. And, I was always so proud of her because she had a lot of struggles and a lot of things were really hard for her, but she kept on going. And after she passed away, we wanted to do something positive to remember her. And our award helps other young adults who have various struggles but are working towards a goal. So we thought this was kind of a unique way to help individuals. Some of them are going to college and we can pay for like extra tutoring, all different things. But we want to honor Alexandra's memory by helping other young adults who are facing the same challenges that she faced.
Paying it forward. But we need to give a shout out to the Nest. So one of you bring us all in describing how the Nest got involved. Alexandra worked there, didn't she?
Well, the Nest was just starting out. And Alexandra and I went to meetings, especially for their gatherings. And what the gatherings are is young adults get together. And I just did one a couple weeks ago where we made no-bake cookies. There's also ones where they play games or do bingo. So Alexandra was helping us by saying, what I think would be fun for a young adult and what a young adult actually thinks is fun are two different things. So she came to meetings with us and, was helping to plan the gatherings and actually, was able to go to a few gatherings and, made friends there. I remember when we were sitting in a restaurant and somebody that she had met at one of the gatherings invited her to her graduation party. And she was very excited about that. So
go ahead, Gale. I didn't mean to.
I just said, the Nest is just an amazing place. I watched, in fact, Patrick came over. I was at a coloring gathering this week, and Patrick and his friends just happened to come in, and everybody was just laughing and joking. And, it's so wonderful to have a place for young adults to make connections and find people that are interested in the same thing they're interested in. So the Nest is special. Yeah, the Nest is special place. Yeah, and the Nest too. And we'll say, Patrick was talking about his 92-year-old father. Well, they were so wonderful to him that all he would do was go in there. They knew his exact order. They'd bring even he was in charge of collecting donations when they had open mic night. And he collected over $100 one night, just making, putting the bucket.
Oh my gosh.
So the Nest is a wonderful place.
I'm so excited. I'm interrupting you all the time about the Nest because we happen to think, number one, shameless plug for them, Deep River, Main Street in Deep River. The no calories cookies are absolute. I'm kidding, of course. They're absolutely delicious. And it's just such a warm, welcoming spot. And we have held lots of mini meetings there ourselves. So for those of you watching, listening, please patronize the Nest because they do so many great things for our young people. So let's fast forward to the awards. Last month, Thayer and I were just honored again to be part of the award ceremony that you had. And it really is an application process where young people have to tell you why they deserve to get what they're asking for. So, Patrick, you had a wonderful way of introducing all of the awardees. And if you can recall any of those awards, please tell us about them. And if not, Gale and I are going to try to pipe in.
Well, the nice thing about this, we've grown this steadily over the last 6 years, Cynthia. So, it's started to expand geographically, I think, through word of mouth and also through the organizations and agencies that we've started to work with regularly. So we get a real cross section of young people who have different goals and different needs. And I think this year's awardees show that. I work here at Southern Connecticut State University, not a kindergarten, despite what you see in the background. And we had an awardee here this year named Dejan Knight, who is a great young man. He has cerebral palsy. He's had that since birth, and he really has struggled to get around campus. He had actually asked for either a scooter or a Mac, and the reason for both, the scooter for mobility purposes, to help him get to class and the residence halls, etc. And the Mac because, he really needs his own equipment rather than having to go to the library, use a loaner. And, he also had adaptive technology with that. So he already had a grant that was helping him with the scooter through the school. So we were, as we often do, we kind of come in and see what else we can do. And we were able to get him the MacBook. And he was overjoyed with this. He's a young man from a family, I think he has 5 siblings from New Haven. And he said no one in his family had ever owned any technology. And he's heavily engaged at Southern. He's a residence hall advisor, so he now lives on campus. He's the manager for the men's varsity basketball team. And he's working toward his degree with a concentration in business. And he really wants to be an advocate for young people with disabilities later in life, and particularly for those, he loves athletics. And he said, particularly for those, who have challenges there, and he wants to show people that with determination, you can reach your goals. And so we had a great little ceremony here at Southern with the vice president for students, etc. And it was great. I just felt very happy to have been able to help him. And I spoke to him subsequently at our event, and he's already making very good use of the Mac. So he's one example, but there were others. We had a young woman from the Nest who was ordered by the Nest. She is working toward her license in social work. She has a master's in social work. She's licensed in Pennsylvania and is working toward it here. And we helped her with her application fees and her books and everything else she needs to study and work towards that. We have another young woman who is headed for college who is on the spectrum and really wants to learn how to drive and has had trouble getting her license. And there are specialized courses that you can take. And so we have funded the initial part, which is during the assessment, and from there we would fund the driving lessons themselves once she goes through that. We had another young woman who is going to one of the community colleges in Manchester, and she needed speech to text technology, and so we're working with her to find ways to help her that the college is not able to provide. That's usually our niche. It's like we're finding as we work through this, and we're learning all the time, that schools have an array of supports. They certainly try very hard and offer what they can, but not all schools provide the same things, and there are often loopholes. There was another young man, for instance, who's is entering the Thames program at Mitchell College, and his mother said he might need tutoring in life study skills or math. Well, the college offered the life study skills, but they did not offer the math tutoring. And math has been a real challenge for him. So we covered a year's math tutoring for him. So that's the kind of thing, the kind of cross section.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that this is truly a niche, and finding where the loopholes are or where the gaps are, because you're providing to me, and as I said, there and I and the whole staff really learned a lot. It's the things that we might take for granted that these students need, and to give them a hand up rather than a handout, I think is just absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, that I think Gail could speak to this, but that's part of our goal with this award. We want them, like you said, the application is not,
No,
it's not straightforward. It's not a
it is.
handout.
But
You have to show what you want and how you're going to get there, and we'll
and,
help you.
and I have to tell you, when we sat in on the committee meeting making the decisions about this, that committee was pretty tough on some of the applications.
They
I mean,
were.
nobody got
Oh.
a pass at all. So I think that is really great. Gail, do you have any other things that any highlights about this year's applications, or even some in the past awards that you've given?
Yeah, I was thinking of well, there's so many, but one young woman in particular who wanted to be a special ed teacher, and she was dyslexic and faced challenges and needed the specialized tutoring. And that to me is a wonderful way of paying it forward. I work in an elementary school, and to have a special ed teacher who herself has struggled, overcome, I just think it is really amazing. So we were thrilled to be able to help her achieve that goal. And I'm just in awe of all the amazing goals that people set for themselves. And, up to the point where, we come in contact with them, they've done so much to reach those goals. So it really is inspiring to see these young adults and all that they've accomplished and all that they will accomplish in the future.
And they have set lofty goals for themselves. So I think that, again, I will just say so many of the awards went to things that we would take for granted. Shame on us for taking what we have for granted. I also have to give a shout out to the colleges, the community colleges and the schools that worked with us, because this was a learning process for us too, because as everyone knows, as a community foundation, we're not able to give money directly to individuals. We need to give to the institutions. So we learned so much about how schools, school systems, nonprofit organizations work to try to give that hand up and not a handout. So going forward, what are the goals and I should have said at the very beginning, you have a fund here. So what are the goals for this fund? I mean, this year we gave how many awards? 7, 8?
8.
8. So what would be in your wildest dreams the next 3 years? What would it bring the next 3 years? That was a horribly grammatically incorrect sentence. We should cut that one out. So in the next 3 years, what is your goal?
I think our goal is to continue to grow this incrementally, both in terms of numbers of awardees and in terms of the reach. And part of that is really, networking and finding agencies, schools, where we can help. And the more that we come into contact with them, I think the more that the word will get out. And I wanted to give a plug to the foundation also. One of the reasons that we've been very happy to partner with you is the expertise that you offer. We really started this off on sort of a shoestring, if you will. It was a nice idea, and
It is a great
it was
idea.
very local, but we feel there's need out there, and we don't have targets that we'll have 20 by next year or that, but we want to continue to grow it. And as we move toward retirement, we think that this is a great thing to put our energy and whatever talents we may have behind. And so that's what we would like to do. We just would like to assist as many young people as we can to achieve their goals.
We're going to help you. We are honored to do that. So I'm going to give a shout out to you, both of you, to your family, because it certainly is a family affair, right down to your grandson, is it Jackson, right?
Jackson. It's
Jackson.
A new age Jackson, Jackson.
So we got it upward, but also your committee of the folks who made the decisions were so dedicated. It's always nice to see people live and in person. We hope we can spread the word about this through our network too, because I think we introduced you to some organizations we know about.
You did.
And we always search for other and connecting the dots. So you can be assured that we are going to connect more dots for you. But any last words for us about Alexandra's legacy?
Go ahead, Gale.
Go ahead. Oh,
yeah.
Just want to continue to remember her, and remember all the good things that she did. And I think by helping other people, that's the best way we can do that.
Patrick?
I couldn't say more than that. That's what I agree. It's a way of really keeping her alive, not just in our memory, but keeping her active. And I think that she would love to be engaged in this and would be very pleased that we're doing this.
Well,
because she was a helping type of person herself. She had a lot of love in her heart. And so this is something that we feel is very reflective of her as a person.
Well, I have to say, you're the multiplier effects. I mean, just think about the eight young people that you helped. So times that with their family members that were there. So I just think it's the ripple effect that will keep on. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So thank you for that. So just on a personal note, for the next couple of months, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, well, we just celebrated our 34th anniversary. So
happy anniversary.
Thank you. So we're going to be heading to New York City this weekend. We haven't been there in a while. So see a show and so we're looking forward to that, spending time with our grandson. That's always a lot of fun. He's getting really close to walking. So so we're going to exercise so we can keep up with him. Right.
Patrick?
I'm going to play a lot of pickleball, and
You're back to that, huh?
I'm going to Ireland very briefly in November. My father was Irish originally. He left Ireland at 19 and ended up in New Zealand by way of England and then Australia briefly. Lived in New Zealand for about 60 years, but was still very Irish till his last day. He made it to 94, so I'm bringing a small portion of his ashes back to his hometown, and I'm going to sprinkle them there with my grandmother's gravesite. He was very close to his mother, even though he didn't see her in person for 45 years.
Oh my gosh!
We finally forced him to go on a plane in 1978. I remember it clearly, and so I thought for my dad, who was one of those early immigrants post World War II. This would be a nice way of completing his circle.
Yep, so, coming home. Home. Well, enjoy, and that's a nice legacy for your dad too. Well,
yes.
We only know good people who do great things, and here the two of you are. So I thank you for joining us today on the Meaningful Monday, and thank you for what you're doing in honor of Alexandra. And we're so pleased to be part of that partnership.
Thank you. We're very pleased to partner with you. Thank you, Cynthia.
Great. for joining us for this week's episode of Meaningful Mondays. At the Community Foundation of Middlesex County, we know that philanthropy matters and philanthropy works. Together we support the arts, education, human services, animal welfare, the environment, heritage enhancement, and so much more by providing services, programs, and grants to our local nonprofits. We invite you to learn more and share your passion with us. Visit us at middlesexcountycf.org or contact us at 860-347-0025. Together we can make great things happen.